Catherine, let me go back to you now. I'm wondering, what are you hearing from employers about things that are particularly interesting to older workers and job seekers? I'm thinking about, we talked about phased retirement, maybe that, but also flexible hours, remote work. Is this going to be a good year for those kinds of things or not so great or what?
I'm bullish on it. As we've looked and we've been surveying employers for many years and looking at their age friendliness. And we're seeing progress. One of the indicators that came up that Carrie had touched on, we're seeing a growing numbers of offering phased retirement. I think that's a really good sign. We're not there yet at 100%, but we're seeing the numbers trending in the right direction. And also considering, opening hearts and minds to older workers and older job seekers. I share everyone's concerns about the online job board and algorithms not being helpful. I'm not sure they're helpful for people, job seekers of any age at this point, but especially for older workers. But we're seeing the numbers trend in the right direction. Employers recognizing the value and talent and expertise that older workers bring. Now, for job seekers, that doesn't mean it's an easy slam dunk, but I think the tides have turned, and I think that we are looking at it being easier in the future than it has been in the past. And I also believe that we've got demographics in our favor. We've got an aging population, an aging workforce, and fewer younger workers. And many baby boomers, if they have not retired, they will be retiring, and employers are gonna need to fill those shoes. So I'm bullish on it. The one caveat is, because we've all seen the news and headlines, employers pulling back, and that may have been 100% virtual and bringing people back to the office. I think that's going to be a reality for specific types of industries, specific jobs, professions that require on-site presence. But I still think there's going to be plenty of flexible opportunities as well.
I was going to ask you about that because I do see more employers, big companies in certain industries, but quite a few that are insisting that employees come back to work in person, if not 5 days a week, then at least 3 days a week, but sometimes five. And I think there are a lot of older job seekers and older workers who think, I really don't want to do that. I really want to keep working, but I don't want to go into an office anymore. And I'm wondering, is this a trend that is working against some older job seekers?
Or job seekers that don't want to be in an office environment. And again, I think it's up to the job seeker. Employment is, it's a two-way street. And for somebody to if it requires being there full time, 5 days a week, then maybe it's not the right opportunity for them. From an employer's perspective, their employers, they're white collar industries, very concerned about cybersecurity and having their technology networks locked down and have more control than if in a totally virtual environment. But there's still also plenty of opportunities out there for hybrid work and for remote work. However, one of the big themes that we've had in this conversation is, given the amount of disruption and so many factors at work and so many changes underway, that it's up to each and every one of us to be doing our homework. And it's going to be requiring more homework probably in the future, ferreting out opportunities than it has been in the past. But there's going to be new opportunities, and I think people, open heart, open mind, and a lot of focus on the homework. I think they're going to find opportunities that they didn't know existed before.
So you've talked about why job boards are not very useful these days. I'm wondering what would be, for all three of you, your top tip for people over 50 who will be looking for jobs this year? What should they be doing to try to find those jobs? Maybe Carrie, do you want to start, and then Chris, and then Catherine?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is, what do you want to do? Who would you like to work for? Second thing, then go to that company or that nonprofit's website and see what jobs they have posted. Number three, if it's the company that you love their mission, you really would, this is where you see yourself, reach out, see, LinkedIn is a great resource for us. Look and see, how are you connected to anyone who works there that might be able to give you the inside scoop on if something's coming up, if there are any opportunities that they see there, who you might be able to talk to. So it's the homework stuff Catherine was just talking about, but it's really understanding what is motivating you, then who narrow it down to maybe 10 employers or nonprofits that would be your like ideal job, and then go for it. Really see who align your resume to match with any opportunities they have. That what skill set you have would pair with what they have open. Those are the kinds of proactive things you can do to launch into this without being dependent on the job boards. I think we also do hear a lot about jobs word of mouth or through other places. Maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's other social media sources that I know on LinkedIn, a lot of folks I know, colleagues I know, they post opportunities at their companies all the time. And it's not that something that I'm getting a LinkedIn beep that I've got, that there's a job open that matches my skills, but it's actually someone I know, I respect, has put up an opportunity, and I can go to them and say, hey, what do you know about this?
Chris, what's your advice for older job seekers? And I'm particularly interested if you have any thoughts for the long-term unemployed, people who've been looking for a while and have not found anything.
So I think, we're all kind of going to echo the same points, which the core about it is networking. So agreeing with everything that Carrie just said. So I guess what I would add to that is your network will help you find a job, but your network can also help you figure out what it is you want to do next. And, when we work in companies, they're sort of acceptable. Oh, that's a job I would take, or that's a job you would move to. But the advantage of tapping your network, you can broaden your horizons about what might be possible. We all hear this thing about it's not your job title, it's what are your skills. Well, that level of introspection is not that easy for a lot of people. So if you're in this process and you're not dealing with it by necessity, you've lost your job, you've been laid off, but you want to be doing your homework, tap into your net. What am I good at? What do you think are my skills? What do you think I'd be good at doing? And sort of really explore the possibilities of what it is. And then once you sort of settle on something that you think you want to do, then you want to tap into your network for some references, information. And this is where LinkedIn and the job boards and everything can really help you do your research and really understand. They're just valuable research tools, but they're not particularly valuable in getting you to the place that you want to go. And in terms of the long-term unemployed, there you want to tap into, and they're in every community. In the basement of a church or a temple, there are groups who have come together to be looking for jobs, and you support each other, and you have experts coming in. But I think you really don't want to go on that journey alone. You really want to be with people, and there are programs, and it comes up every time. It came out, 28, the 2008, 2009, the Great Recession. And there was a real rise in long-term unemployed, and a lot of stories about local institutions, a lot of them churches or nonprofit organizations, providing a forum for people to come together, share stories, share some expertise. You tap into all the resources that are offered by the state itself. And so the main thing that I think with the long-term unemployed is you don't want to be alone. You do not want to be in that journey alone. It's incredibly depressing. It's very, very hard on your emotions. Obviously, it's hard on your finances. So reach out to these organizations that really have developed the networks that can help you. And at a minimum, you can learn that, hey, I'm not alone. And then some of the stuff that we're talking about, like trying to figure out what you want to do next, that stuff kicks in.
Thank you.
Rich,
Catherine, anything you want to add?
Can I jump in for 1 second, Rich?
Sure.
What Chris was saying is so important, that you ask other people what that you're good at, because we often don't recognize that in ourselves. The second thing is, another place you can look is your hobbies. It sort of broadens the scope of what a job might be, but if something that is your hobby, you might find a grain of a job opportunity within that group and that community that you might not think about so much. And the final thing is, if you're long-term unemployed, Don't sit around sending out resumes on your computer. You have got to show any employer, if you get an interview, they're going to want to know, what have you been doing? So you need to be taking a class. You need to be volunteering. You need to be out in the world and out of your head as one sort of way to look at it. But I think that's very vital to show that you're engaged in the world if you're, facing that long-term unemployment. And that's going to come up as, so what have you been doing?
Thank you. And Catherine, any tips you want to offer for job seekers and particularly long-term unemployed this year?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to flip the script a little bit because I think Carrie and Chris have covered it so well.
Okay.
And just, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. So when something is not working, to try something new and take some chances. The one point I want to make is we're all people. We all have friends. We all probably know somebody or more than one people who are long-term unemployed, and look out after them. Be their cheerleaders, be their vote of confidence, help open doors when possible, be available for coffee and brainstorming, because everybody needs a helping hand from time to time. And it is not personal. But life works in strange ways.
That's true. I have a bunch more questions, but we don't have time. We've got 1 minute before I want to open this up to questions, and I've been seeing some in chat. Feel free to put some in now if you haven't yet. But I guess I have to ask about AI. I think that's the law these days. What do you think AI is going to mean for older workers and older job seekers this year? I wrote a piece recently, and the experts I talked to said that they think older workers might be in greater demand because of AI, because AI tends to do the work of entry-level people, and employers are going to be looking for people with expertise and judgment, which AI does not have, which I found heartening, but I don't know whether to believe it or not. Any of you want to jump in on AI?
Well, I'll jump in, and to one extent, we have no idea how AI is going to affect the labor market. You can come up with a positive story, you can come up with a negative story. But at the period of time that we're in right now, Rich, I think you're absolutely right. It's AI still does a lot of hallucinations. It still makes a lot of mistakes. It does some incredible things. And it's the judgment to be able to say, wait a second, this is wrong. I mean, it was one of the things, well, the first time I used AI was for a Next Avenue story. And I said, what are the things that people who are starting a business should consider? And I knew the literature well, and it was really good. And then I just edited it, cleaned it up. But and I realized that literature's out there. That literature's highly available. And so it tapped into a good literature. But other times I've done similar experiments and AI has really made some mistakes. And I go, that's wrong. So I just think from a practical level, for a variety of reasons, experience is really valuable at this time, partly because of the uncertainty that's going on. Experience really helps to get through the uncertainty, and partially because of judgment calls that the AI is demanding from its workers.
Barry, Catherine, either of you want to jump in on AI?
Well,
Okay, I'll jump. Oh,
go ahead, Catherine, you're up. Go.
Okay, so I will tell you, I am fascinated by it. I've become kind of obsessed with it, and whenever possible, dropping in on seminars and discussions across industries to hear how people are thinking about it and how they might be using it. And there are so many unknowns. Chris, of course, has touched on the hallucinations, and I'll use some language of as people are using AI for various types of research, we need humans with good BS detectors, because I've seen some wild hallucinations that are just completely off the mark. On the other hand, there's applications of AI that it can do things that humans would never have the time or patience to be able to do, especially assimilating large numbers of data or transactions timely. My take on AI is, I think for putting it for older workers or workers of all ages, again, change brings opportunity in many ways. AI is a solution in search of problems, but the successful application and implementation of AI is all human-centric. figuring out how to use it, where it's beneficial, where it works, where it doesn't work, all that debugging, and institutionalizing it and operationalizing it in businesses. That all takes human brain power. The bots aren't going to figure that out for you.
I saw a story in the Wall Street Journal, I think yesterday or today, that found a pretty big difference between what workers said AI was doing for them at work and what employers said it was doing. Employers said, AI is saving so much time and people are so much more productive. And the workers said, no, it's not saving much time at all. Carrie, what do you think about AI for this year? What would you tell our audience?
Well, it's here. I mean, it's not going away, but what always, and this isn't particularly helpful, but when I read these stories about how there are all these job opportunities for older workers to train, the AI to do their jobs or to do this project. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, this is like this whole idea of, I don't know. It's so against our nature to train our replacements that, I guess there are jobs doing that, but it really, it just makes me roll my eyes.